Can you hear the music?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. That's beautiful. Gets me
I
fucking
drink a
amped.
lot of water.
This gets me fucking amped.
Good song.
We had it made. Give it
Good
a try.
time.
Try it. Let's hear it.
Oh, I can't. I'm not a grunter. I'm not a grunter. I'm like a woo guy.
Woo! Woo!
There we go. Yeah, let's go with the woos.
All right, welcome back to another episode of On the Throne with Dick. Shit. Big shout out to Sergeant Boychuk for that amazing intro-outro music. You can find him mostly on YouTube, Sergeant Boychuk. But he is on here. He's cruising around on TikTok and Instagram and stuff too. So go check him out. Today's episode I'm really excited for because we've been waiting a while to get this one done. You know, he's super busy and whatnot. We got Eric
and avoid it as well. I think we've planned this now 6 times a month for the last 4 months, and something always falls apart at the last minute. Usually it's me ignoring you.
Wow.
Well, it's not really like ignoring you. It's just like I'm working and like I just don't have time to respond.
No, I get that, man. I get that. You know, especially if you're working, right? You see the message and you're just like, I don't have time to answer that back yet.
Yeah,
right
exactly. It's, some things come up so quickly. I don't have time to respond to everything. So I'm glad we finally had a chance.
Yeah, we're here. And hey, we're not out of the woods yet. Dispatch could literally ruin this.
Nope. No, I got my son tonight. So he's sleeping upstairs right now, and dispatch knows not to call me. We're good.
Your son could frost block us.
No, he sleeps like a rock. He'll be fine.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. What's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot, man. I'm just kind of finishing up days off right now and about to head back to work. I got to work through the holidays this year, so
that sucks.
That's about it, man. It's not bad. I mean, it sucks having to work through the holidays, absolutely, but at the same time, I alternate years with it. So one year I will work through the holidays and the next year I won't. And the year that I don't work through the holidays is the year that my son's with me over the holidays as well. So
perfect.
Plan it out that way and it works out well.
That's perfect, man. I love that, dude.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked through Christmas a couple of times. None when I've had kids. I don't think when I've had kids, no. But I've always made sure that, hey, I have Christmas off to be with them. Because I remember what it was like, you know, when I did work for Christmas and then my wife was with my family, my sisters, my dad, and everyone, we were all together. And I remember what it was like, you know, waking up Christmas Day, going to work thousands of kilometers from home.
Yeah.
And while everyone else is together and enjoying time, right?
Yeah.
Being together. Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty lucky in that sense. Like growing up, my parents were always there over Christmas and we had like the big all out Christmas feast kind of thing. And now I'm kind of learning the other end. And, you know, sometimes you got to be away. And I've been fortunate that the years that I have had to work, they've been pretty awesome. Like one year I had Christmas dinner at a rig. I went to go haul a load of pipe on Christmas Eve and they had a full on feast going on. And yeah, it sucked, but at the same time, I mean, dinner was awesome and it was great.
Hell yeah. I love that, man. I love that. So, man, I've been having you like, you know, since I started this podcast, you've always been like right there at the top in my mind for someone I wanted to have on, right? Like, you're a guy that even before I started making content, I was watching your content.
I appreciate that, man.
And you followed me back. I got all giddy. You know, you had that shirt, Oilfield Lives Matter.
I still have it.
Where you bought it? Yeah, I asked you where you got it from, and you told me on Amazon, I think, right?
No, I made that one.
Oh, you made that one. I got my own now.
So like,
we make them now.
Originally, back when I started selling T-shirts and hoodies, I used to print them at home, and I had a Cricut, and I'd come home from work after my 2 weeks at the dam there, and I'd come home and I'd print T-shirts all night. and that was one of the ones that I had at the time.
Well, I'm sorry I stole your idea. Now we print it.
That's okay. I'll collect royalties off of you later. My
Hell
brother's a
yeah,
lawyer,
man.
so we'll deal with that one later.
Oh damn, dude, damn. Yeah, I remember seeing you, man, like all over the damn place. Like you were all over my FYP, and I'm like, this guy, where is this guy? And then Grand Prairie. Turns out you were only up the road from me. I was in Fox Creek, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
and I saw you and your swamper there. That I can't remember his name, but yeah,
Clayton.
He was Clayton. Okay, Clayton. You guys were all over the damn place, man, and I hadn't even started making shit yet. And yeah, man, I remember just seeing you everywhere, and like how like ADHD you were. It was awesome.
I am very very much in that sense. Yeah. And honestly, we have to thank Clayton. I don't think I've ever actually have. But Clayton was part of the reason that I started making videos in the first place. At first, like when I first started, TikTok was still very new. And I remember him coming into the lunchroom all the time. He's like, you got to download TikTok. You got to watch this video. You got to do this. And I'm like, I'm not downloading TikTok, Clayton. Like, It's not happening. And then, like, more and more people would come in. They'd be like, you got to watch this video on TikTok. So I finally, like, reluctantly downloaded TikTok. And it just kind of snowballed very, very quickly.
Fucking yeah, dude. I remember. Oh, I remember. I'm just messing with the mic here. I remember. Yeah, I remember. Okay, you know that song? I can't remember who sings it. Maybe it's not 3 Days Grace, when it's like we are all innocent. We are.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I remember all the feelings and the day they stopped. I remember all the videos, and then the day they stopped. I remember not seeing you around much anymore.
Oh, come on! It wasn't like that.
It hurt, bro. It hurt.
Oh, it wasn't like that.
Where's my boy, that low bed guy, man? Like, where is he? Like, I was just starting to like take off, and you'd followed me back. And as soon as you'd followed me back, it's like you were done. You disappeared. Your time on the app was done. I felt like you followed me back. It was kind of like, I'm going to follow this guy back, and then I'm done.
Dude, that app was like, at the time, it was everything I needed and everything I didn't need at the same time. It filled so many needs that like it just worked. And unfortunately, life kind of also has a funny play in it, because I left the dam and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go on the road and I'm going to make like a whole bunch of cool videos and stuff like that. And I think after I left the dam, I made like 5 videos, and then I went on like a 1.5-year hiatus.
Yeah, man. And then I started seeing you pop back up over on Instagram.
Yeah,
and I watched you grow over there for a while.
I enjoyed, like, this is going to sound absolutely ridiculous, but I enjoy the simplicity of a picture.
Yeah, you're no longer a video guy. You're more of pictures. You take a lot of pictures now.
I enjoy taking pictures. Like, even from before I started trucking, I've always enjoyed photography. And like, I mean, that's one of my photos I've taken, and even that one, that was a piece of graffiti that was on Vancouver City Hall. And I drove by in a cab and I snapped that picture out. So
you got any other ones in your secret file on your phone there that you can show me? Like, what other pictures do you take?
Just a lot of like whatever catches my eye. None of the ones that you like take in front of a mirror or anything.
No, that's heartbreaking. Once again, heartbreak at every turn, man.
But you never know. Now that we're getting close like this, who knows where the world takes us. Yeah.
Right now, I'm in Dawson Creek. Right? Well, technically, Poos Coop. So I'm 2 hours away from you, and usually I am.
Technically, you're closer to me now than you are when you were in Fox Creek.
There you go, man. We can make this work.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta drive. You gotta drive this way anyway when you go home, right?
So what have you been doing since you left the dam and you've stopped making all these videos, and like what what have you been up to? Like, what's new on your side of things?
Oh,
I know I follow you on Instagram, so I kind of know where you've been a little
yeah.
bit.
Honestly, I've just been trucking, and I went back trucking, and I ended up going to work for a company, and wasn't all that I expected. I ended up doing a whole lot of trucking across Canada, which was not what I signed up for. And so ended up going back to the company that really taught me how to low bed, and I honestly don't have any plan on leaving. I do a lot of cool things with them. I've got to travel to the Yukon, got
You're
to
up there
drive into
quite a
Old
bit.
Crow, which I think was like a lot of people are going to hear and they're going to be like, oh, you went to Old Crow, not knowing where Old Crow is. And it's just the raddest thing ever. And there's nothing like trucking through the Yukon to begin with. Like, nothing beats it. It's remote. It's like just drive and wilderness for as far as the eye can see. There's no place like the Yukon. But then you get to go to Old Crow in a convoy with like the first year was just a bunch of strangers, really, because I didn't know anyone, and I was like this lonely Albertan. And then the second year went back again, and it was like literally like you go into the bush with a group of your friends in a convoy, and you just truck through the tundra on an ice road. And
That's
I'll
sick.
never forget the experience, and I wish I could do it every year. Unfortunately, we can't because they shut the road down for, I think it's like every 8 years or something they do it.
Really?
But it was pretty rad.
They shut the road down every 8 years for like how long?
Technically, there is no road. So you drive to Eagle Plains up the Dempster Highway. And once you get to Eagle Plains, you basically bang a left and just drive into the bush. And they build a winter road with a cat train and everything like that. And it's directly to Old Crow. And the only people allowed on this road are the people who are trucking in commodities to the community. So they were building a hospital or a health center or something like that. So that's why we ended up going in 2 years in a row, because they had to get all the equipment we hauled in on year one, we had to get it out. So that's why they did it 2 years in a row. But I think the last time they did it was probably 8 years prior to that.
Huh. That's interesting,
Yeah.
man. No, I see your pictures all the time, man, and like beautiful scenery you post. The truck with the bushes in the background, the sun, the way the sun hits. I don't know, maybe get a filter on it, but that it looks nice anyway. And
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
There's not a whole lot of filtering on it. I mean, I adjust like the brightness and contrast a little bit, but there's no like crazy like, I don't know, where you like swipe over on Instagram and there's like all those names of cities filters, and there's none of those in it or anything. Everything's very much as raw as I could keep it, just tighten it up a bit, right?
Yeah. So there's no cell service once you get past a certain spot up there, or what?
There's no cell service once you leave Fort Nelson.
Oh shit.
So like you leave Fort Nelson, which is northern BC, and it's 5.5, 6 hours to Watson Lake, and there's nothing.
So if you break down or anything like that, like you really can't call for help.
You got an inReach? That's about it. If you got an inReach, or now you got Starlink. Now you see a lot of guys trucking with Starlink, but if you aren't prepared and you don't know what you're doing in the bush and you aren't confident with it and something goes wrong, like it could be a long time, because it's not like it's remote, but there's people. There's not a lot of people. In some days, like you could go there and you'll see 6 trucks between Fort Nelson and Watson Lake. And then once you get to Watson Lake, you have service, and then it's another 3 hours to the next community that has service. And then it's very spotty all the way to Whitehorse from there. And once you get to Whitehorse, there's nothing. Except once you get to all these little communities. They all have a little bit of cell service, but there's nothing in between.
Shit,
most cases, yeah. It's cool.
Whitehorse is on my bucket list. I've been to Yellowknife now. Whitehorse is on the bucket list.
Oh, Whitehorse. Okay, so I went to Yellowknife this summer during the fires, as my first time I ever went there. Before the fires got out of rage and stuff like that, when we were still allowed to kind of explore around town and stuff. And we had a pretty fun night, me and my other driver I went with. But Whitehorse is on another level. It's a fun place. It is a fun place. And the people, I think, I'm not so even sure it's the town that's so awesome. It's the people. The most hospitable people ever, like, don't know you, will give you the shirt off their back. And that's how I met Ross, which is who I work for a lot when I go up there. And that's how I met him. I met him through Instagram, and it was literally like, you're in Whitehorse? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm going to pick you up and we're going to go for dinner. I'm like, okay, sounds good. And I literally parked in a Walmart parking lot, which is, looking back on it, the hardest place to get into in all of Whitehorse. And then he picked me up and we went for dinner, and I just kept on going back ever since. He's kept me busy. It's been great.
It's awesome,
so,
man. So
yeah, super thankful.
For him. You haul things for him from like down south and up north and back and shit?
Yeah, so usually the way it works is I'll haul something from either Edmonton or here, usually Shack or something out of Richie's, and then I'll take it up there, and then I'll usually spend a few weeks up there, and then we'll get something to get me back usually, because that has to come back down south, and that'll be my end of my 2 weeks up there, usually is what I go for.
Nice, man. So what's the hairiest situation you found yourself in, on the Dempster or like up where there's no service?
I've been very lucky. I haven't had any breakdowns where I've been completely alone. That being said, my first year of Old Crow was just peaks and valleys. You went from the highest of highs to the absolute lowest of lows. So like we were the first convoy in of the year, and we left Eagle Plains. Everything was supposed to be good. We drove all the way through, got to the last river crossing before Old Crow. And I mean, like, drove. It was like 2 days for us to get to this point. And you could see the lights of Old Crow at the other end. And they're like, the ice isn't thick enough. And we're like, sweet. What do we do? Because we're loaded, and it's not a normal highway. It's just pushed out through tundra, so it's not like you just whip a U-turn and head back. We ended up sitting there for a week.
Jesus.
And then once we finally got to go, the first truck that goes out ended up going across empty and fell through, and I had to crawl out to go get him. So I crawled out with a snowcat, and there was a dozer out there as well, and we dragged him out of the river that was surrounding his C500. And then, so that was like the first trip in. Fast forward, you return all the way back to Eagle Plains, reload, get halfway back in, and I dropped a couple bolts, I guess, somewhere along the way. And I dropped the tranny out the back of my truck. Middle of absolutely nowhere. I had a mechanic with us that was driving as well. So, like, shout out Nathan from Bullseye and Whitehorse, because if not, I'd probably still be sitting out somewhere there. But he ended up managing to jimmy rig it back up with chains and boomers and a block of wood. And we ended up getting it good enough that we were able to load it back onto a truck. And they hauled me out and then all the way back to Whitehorse. And I sat in my truck. Because it's a long way from Eagle Plains. Like, it's a long ways. And I don't want to sit with a stranger in a truck. Like, so what's the next best thing? You sit in your truck, right? I did all the way to Whitehorse in my truck on the trailer, just living my best life. Feet up on the dash and just watching the world go by me.
Shit. That's funny, man.
Yeah. But I've been fortunate that, personally, I haven't had any major accidents or breakdowns or anything like that have stopped the trip.
Fuck, man. So,
knock on wood.
when you were sitting there for a week waiting for the ice to thicken up, were you still getting paid?
I mean, in a sense, yes. They paid in one way or another, but it wasn't like a traditional like you sit there and you get paid your hourly wage. Yeah. It was all just like it was like a flat rate kind of thing, and then they negotiated terms as the days progressed. Right? They're like, these guys are sitting here just burning fuel in the middle of nowhere. Like,
yeah, how did that work out, man? For fuel, like you sat there for a week. How did you get fuel? How'd you get food?
Okay, so we went into this knowing full on like you're going bush trucking. All of us packed as best as we could. Like I had a cooler strapped to my deck that originally had a week's worth of food in it. That was supposed to last me, just quick meals to get through. Then I had like porridges and stuff like that, dry stuff inside the truck. And a lot of the other guys had stuff as well. A lot of the other guys are also from the Yukon, so they know what it's like trucking out there. So they have like, their little kitchens in their truck, and the wife sends them home cooked meals and things like that. So I did a lot of begging, became friends with a lot of guys really quickly. I'm like, hey, what would you do for a beer right now? I'm like, would you trade half that pot roast?
Shit. I love that, man. That's fucking awesome.
But I mean, so yeah, we went into it. We're all prepared. It was just more or less like you can't shower. You can't wake up in the morning and, go to the bathroom in the morning in like a warm place. That was the roughest part. The rest of it was the easy part because we're like 8 guys that are just used to being in the bush. So you make friends, light a bonfire, you watch the ravens go by, I guess. I mean, that's all you can really do. So that's all we did. We just made the best of the situation we had. Fuel, we knew that fuel would be touch and go kind of thing. We didn't know what we needed, so we overpacked everything. We had tidy tanks on the back of a couple trucks to get us there. And then once we got there, I mean, it's Old Crow, so Old Crow flies in fuel for their community as well. It's a diesel-run community. So while we were there, we were fortunate enough that Old Crow, that as a community, gave us fuel and topped us up before we shipped back out on the road.
That's awesome, man. I like that.
Yeah.
Are you one of those guys that has Starlink or what?
I am not a guy that has Starlink. I'm the guy that will trade anything I have for Starlink. I'll be like, hey man, you want my last Snickers bar? I'll give you Snickers bar for internet. Like, but at the time,
I would do that.
At that time, there was no Starlink, so it was just inReaches. So that was the hard part, is like being able to text anyone. Like, couldn't text anyone. If you didn't have anything previously downloaded into Netflix, like you didn't have entertainment.
Oof, that sucks.
Right? Like it's the little things you don't think of. And after a week in the bush, you're like, man, I wish I had that. We were very happy to get back to Old Crow and eat a cheeseburger.
I bet you played tug of war with the devil a little bit, huh?
Maybe a few times.
Yeah, you did.
Me and the devil aren't that good friends, though.
Yeah, you went to the white turned red, didn't
you? We won't speak of things that happen on the road. It's like Vegas and that thing.
And what happens in Fox Vegas stays in Fox Vegas. I
prefer to look at it as what happens in the Chateau Kenworth stays in the Chateau Kenworth. Makes it sound bougie that way.
There you go, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. So you were saying when we were talking earlier about how, like, you went down a certain side of TikTok, after a while when you couldn't think of any videos to make.
Oh, yeah. You're going to expose me right now.
Dude, because I do the same thing.
Oh, so I started a trend, really, is what you're saying.
You started a trend.
All right. I could live with that.
You're a trendsetter.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there was a point where I just couldn't come up with ideas anymore. I literally went through everything I had, and I stumbled across like single mom TikTok, where it was like moms fighting with their toddlers and like complaining about, the little things that they have to deal with. And surprisingly enough, single mom TikTok has a whole lot to do with the trucking industry. It's amazing how easily you could change just a few words in it, and like people who drive Peterbilt start crying.
Hey Lois, are you sure this isn't a dress? Yes, Peter. Why? Really? Because I think this is for women, and it's a Peterbilt.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit, dude.
Yeah, I
Find
found a
myself.
lot of things that way. So shout out to all those single moms that used to make TikToks, because you guys made
Yeah,
me.
you found some. You were there for love too, weren't you?
For what?
Love. You went down single mom TikTok looking for love too.
No, I think it was just the fact that I searched so many things for work, and single moms work really, really hard, apparently, according to TikTok. And when you search work in a hashtag, that's all that comes up. So
Yep, that's what it is.
yeah.
I find myself quite often down Nub Talk, and Nub Talk is like people missing fingers and toes and arms and legs and stuff. They got nubbed,
That's so
and
morbid.
dude, they make the best. They make the funniest TikToks, dude. And like some of them, like there's that one girl, Abby, in the chair. I want to get her on the podcast. Actually, she dove headfirst into a hot tub when she was drunk, just before college started, trying to impress a boy, and head first into a hot tub, and she became a quadriplegic.
Why am I
And
laughing?
dude, because she makes fun of it. She has a lot of fun with it. And
Yeah, but
so
like,
yeah, she dove headfirst in there, man. Now she's in a wheelchair, and she's like, "This is how the war of the robots starts." And she's like in the grocery store in her fucking motorized wheelchair, and there's a robot in the grocery store that keeps getting in her way, and she's like, "This is how the robot war
oh my
starts."
god.
And then she talks about how like the hardest part of eating a vegetable is getting past the wheelchair, and she's like in the wheelchair, and she's like, trying to get out of it. She's like, I'm trying to do all the hard work for you, and like just
Yeah,
she's funny. She's funny. You
I'll
can't
have to
stitch or
check her
duet her
out.
videos. I've tried to stitch or duet her videos. It's Abby in
Yeah,
the chair.
Abby in
She's
the chair.
hilarious, man. Yeah, yeah. She might be able, you might be able to stitch or duet them now. I know it was like fairly new for her when I started checking her out, and like she was just kind of getting comfortable with making fun of herself.
It it kind of like, I mean, it kind of makes sense. You gotta understand why too. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
one
hundred
thing to like
percent.
make fun of yourself because of something that you do or the way you look or something like that, but it's completely a different thing. And like, the world is such a cruel place these days.
Yeah, the
Like,
internet, man.
the internet ruins a lot of things. The internet ruined everything.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot
Well,
of cool things that it's happened to. So I mean,
yeah. Could you be looking at single moms on TikTok and if it wasn't for the internet?
see, now I'm regretting telling you my story on why I was looking at single moms. I told you it was for making videos, and you're gonna
Yeah,
expose me
yeah.
again.
Hey, man. Hey,
You're
but
lonely in camp, man. You're lonely in camp.
dude, I hear that. What do you think? I'm living vicariously through you right now.
I guess I'm lonely in my house, so I mean,
Speaking of which, you have a girlfriend now, which is what you did not have one when I first started watching. You were single as a Pringle.
crazy how the world works. Eh? 4 years later, someone finally decided they could put up with my shit.
Does she know about your past ways on TikTok? Did she know about that when she came into your life?
She did. She actually followed me originally on TikTok, and then on Instagram, and we just liked each other's pictures without saying anything for a very long time.
Is she also a big creator?
She's not a big creator, but I mean, she does do a little bit of posting here and there and stuff like that. But
Oh, maybe I know her. Is she from Alberta too? Obviously.
well, yeah, I mean, of course she's from Alberta, but
Yeah,
yeah,
obviously. Yeah, that was a dumb question.
yeah.
Maybe I know her, man. Does she follow me?
No, she doesn't actually.
Wow. You have see, I
But you know
made
what?
my
I
wife
can
follow
guarantee
you.
you, after today, she probably will.
I made my wife follow you.
Oh, did you?
I did. I sent her something like, if you don't follow this guy, it's over.
Maybe I'll finally break the 19,000 follower threshold. I don't know why, but I've been stuck at 18,000 or 17,900 for like 4 months.
On Instagram?
Yeah, I'll go up as far as 17,940 and then it'll plummet 100 followers. And then I'll get back up to that same number again and it'll plummet again. And I don't know why anymore. And I'm tired of
Instagram gets rid of fake accounts or inactive accounts that don't really use anymore. They get rid of them all like in real time. It's not people unfollowing you. It's
no,
people that don't use
and
their
when I look in the
anymore.
analytics of it, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's like I've just hit a hump that I can't get over. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Oh man, there was a time there I posted a political video. And I was growing, like TikTok or Instagram was pushing my shit and I was growing real fast. And I posted a political video just joking around. And I went and I lost like fucking probably in a week, I probably lost like 1,000 followers or something like that off of it. Because people don't come to me for politics, right? They come to me to laugh and have a good time.
Yeah.
Forget about the politics. Right. And I just posted a funny political video and you know, it didn't sit well. So now I don't post politics. I've come to realize that that's not where I belong.
I've learned that a long time ago is to stay away from politics on the internet because like it is rough. Once you bring politics into it, people just want to start talking and usually it doesn't end up very good. Luckily, once you get to kind of like the followers that we have, we could like mute things and say things back and it doesn't affect us. We're like, yes, we've earned this.
Yeah. Well, man, how much do you have on TikTok now?
TikTok, I don't know. It keeps on rising and I don't actually post anything. Like I'll post the same videos I post on Instagram. I'll post them to TikTok, but like, I don't know. I think there's like 37,000, 38,000, maybe 34,000. I don't know. I haven't looked in a while.
On TikTok? I thought you had like over 100K.
No, I've never had that much. I hovered around that 30,000, and then I just wanted to see the K beside my name.
Yeah.
Once you get the cool. K, I mean, what else do you need?
I thought it was over 100K. I was like, man, but I had like 4,000, I think 5,000, I think maybe when you left.
Yeah, the pandemic also kind of killed me wanting to make TikToks because when I got laid off and I left the dam, like, what am I going to make about trucking sitting in my house?
It's fair. That's fair.
And I just became extremely unmotivated with it. And now it's about the same time that I decided to switch to taking photos.
Yeah, I love your photos, man. And
thanks,
you know,
man.
The way you put your gloves sometimes, like I know what you're doing, right? You're showing off Watson, right? Just you advertise it so well.
You're advertising the wrong company right now. We don't wear Watson gloves over here. We wear Stout gloves.
Yeah, you show your glove just like at the right angle, and you're like, I know what he's doing, right? And then you know what glasses are you wearing now?
Too Savage now.
Too Savage now. That's right. What's your code for Too Savage?
That low bid guy, 10, or that low bid guy. That low bid guy. That low bid guy.
Hey man, I'm all about the heat waves, so
they're a nice glass, but I got a weird shaped head. It's narrow.
Yeah.
And something about those Too Savage ones is they just fit so well around a narrow head, and they look cool. They're different. Everyone's got heat waves. Everyone's got pit vipers. It's nice to have something a little bit different that you won't lose on the lunch table.
Yeah. So you also got something that I also have as well. Right? You're part of the Alberta Strong fam.
I've been a part of Alberta Strong now for, I think I'm going on year 4, 5, maybe. Man. Maybe 5.
It hasn't even been a year. I think it's been 6 or 7 months for me.
Yeah, I was with Alberta Strong before it was taken over by Amanda.
Amanda didn't start it?
No.
Dude,
Top
story
secret
time.
things, brother. Top
What
secret
the hell,
things.
man? Dude, what the hell? I'm trying to get Amanda to come on the podcast. I haven't talked to
Oh, that'd
Amanda
be
in a little
awesome.
while here.
You gotta do like a. Can we do like a triangle one with her?
Yeah,
That'd be a cool one.
a triangle one. You want to be a co-host? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, is that what I'd be, or would I just be another lemming on the other end, and you'd be the host, and we'd be, you know, the lemmings on the other end?
Sure, whatever,
Right.
man. We could do whatever. You could be a co-host. You could be a lemon. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be pretty cool. But yeah, so
Yeah,
I've
dude.
been with them for a long time, and like the cool thing is like when I first got on with Alberta Strong is I was actually trucking through Lloyd, and that's where they're based out of, right?
Yeah, I know that's where
And
Amanda lives. Yeah.
yeah, and so I remember they came and they brought me like a big box of stuff, and then they took me over to their original warehouse, and yeah, and it kind of snowballed from there, and they were really super cool with it because I told them kind of what I wanted to do, and I was like, I want to go through all these towns that I go to and like meet people that follow me. So I remember and it got out of hand so fast. I'd have people banging on my truck door, like it got out of hand. So I'd be like pulling into a town. I'd take a picture of like a monument outside of a truck stop or something like that. I'd be like, first one that knows where this is and can like take and spots me will win a T-shirt or something like that, or T-shirt or a sticker or just something, right? Because I had a box of stuff to give away, and it didn't matter what time I posted, 2:00 in the morning, 7:00 in the evening, 6 a.m. Within an hour, someone's banging on the side of my truck door. It got out of hand.
Yeah, man, that's fucking pretty. That's pretty awesome, actually. You know, the power of the internet, man. It's been a ride. It's been pretty crazy.
Totally.
I know Amanda. You know, when I first started talking to her, I saw her post the ambassadorship thing, and I knew I wanted to be a part of it. I was looking to be a part of it before. I wanted to know how, but you know, so I started following and I watched her page closely. Every time she posted, I was right there. And then one day I messaged her and she's like, "Hey, it's coming up. Just wait. I'm gonna post about it." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I got on it, and then you know, the Dropbox thing, man. I don't have enough storage on the Dropbox. I can only post one or two things there, right? And
because you
I'm
got
not paying
videos too, right? The videos take
Yeah.
up so much storage in the Dropbox.
Yeah, so I don't utilize the Dropbox thing anymore, and I feel bad, but I still post a lot. So you know, just because I'm not dropping it in the Dropbox or anything like that. But hey, what's your code? Mine's ABS10.
Mine's ABS10 now too. They switched them all, so we all have the same code now.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who uses it. You know, it's
Yeah.
There you go.
And I think we all do enough that we you know, plug it enough that it works well that way.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing with me is like the people that I work with, I enjoy working with. That's a big thing is I have to enjoy working with them. And it has to be something that I truly enjoy or believe in. Right? Like I'm not going to go say, you know, put my name on something that's a complete piece of shit.
Yeah.
And so like the companies that I work with, they mean a lot to me, but I also don't want to like push it to the point where my followers are like, this guy's doing nothing but advertisements. So I kind of try to do it as nonchalantly as possible. Like it's not like, you know, just a big BAM logo. Like it's always I'm doing something or whatever the picture is posted has to do with the industry or what I'm doing that day or something like that. So it's like, it's visible. You can see it's being used and it's front and center. And then you also know, like, you know, it's quality stuff because it's always being used and he's wearing it all the time.
Yeah. Yep. Well, yeah, man, I'm wearing this. I wear this a lot, but I also wear the Dirty Hands Clean Money stuff a lot, right?
Yeah.
Too, right. And when I got that one, I was really excited, you know. But Amanda's, you know, the Dirty Hands Clean Money thing means a lot. But I think the Alberta Strong one to me I would say it means more, but it means something different. It hits home, right?
Yeah,
And because Alberta Strong, born from the ashes of the Fort Mac fire, right?
yeah,
So,
and
so
they support a
yeah,
lot of community stuff here,
they absolutely do.
which
Yep.
is awesome. Is like directly in our own backyard, which is
Well,
something
yeah.
that
Look what
truly
Amanda and I.
can get
Yeah.
behind.
Look what Amanda and I did this past spring, right? Or was it spring? It was May 2-4 weekend, I believe it
Yeah,
was, and we got together and we raised a bunch of money for the evacuees of the Fox Creek Eagle Complex fire, right? So
yeah,
it was and I knew, so when I saw that she was doing something, I knew I wanted to do something, and I'm like, hey, you have the bank account inside. I didn't want money to touch my bank account. So like you got the bank account, you got the organization of it set up. I've got the eyes.
yeah.
Let's do something. Let's collaborate. And so we did. And man, it was a lot of fun.
Totally. That's all what it's
Yeah,
all
man.
about, I think, at the end. Like, I mean, I don't do social media as a means to get rich.
Yeah.
I just do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy sharing what I do. I'm proud of what I do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people need to like kind of open their eyes to the trades. And
Absolutely.
that's the whole reason why I do it. Is that's it.
Yep. That's why, that's how it started out for me a little bit. It started out for me, a mental health thing where I needed to do something other than work and need to laugh and have a good time. But from there it's snowballed and evolved into, hey, let's highlight the oil and gas industry. It's viewed as a dark spot, right? People don't really know what's going on and they never see us work. Well, hey, you know what, let's change that. Let's show them, let's shine a light in, show them what we do, show them we can have a good time. We're not all robots.
Yeah.
And it's worked quite a bit. A lot of people are like, hey, where can I find a job? Hey, I want a job. Hey, can I do this? Let's go. Where can I find a job? And a lot of the oil and gas companies are now on TikTok.
They
Right?
are,
They're
yeah.
on
There's
TikTok
more
and
and
they're
more that you
actively
see
recruiting.
popping up, and even creating like reels and stuff like that on Instagram and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Which is, I think, it's pretty cool. It's another aspect of what we do, right? And
Yep.
I think the more eyes that are able to see what we do on a regular basis will change a whole lot of minds as well.
Well, my boss asked me to create a Facebook and an Instagram page for the company a couple days ago. He's like, hey, can you create me an Instagram and a Facebook page for the company? And I'm like, absolutely.
Did you tell him to create a couple more zeros on your paycheck before you do?
I should. I should do that, man. But no, I didn't say that. I've gotten them lots of work from my videos, though. And
Yeah.
so there's that. But yeah, they're tired. He said his exact words: "I'm tired of looking up and seeing the competition all over social media, and we're not." He's like, "You need to create me a Facebook, and you need to create me an Instagram."
Yeah.
I'm like, done. I got that. That's easy.
It's amazing what social media is able to do. Like, there's a lot of negative things to it that you as well, but the positive side of it, I mean, as a business building tool and things like that, like, it's amazing what you can do with it and the doors that it can open.
Oh, dude, how many doors has it opened for you?
So many, and
Yeah.
I'm thankful for every single one of them, and I wouldn't change it for a lot of them, because a lot of times where spring breakup, where a lot of companies don't have a whole lot of trucks moving, like, I've been kept busy, and I think a lot of it has to do with the power of social media, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Isn't it wild that people see your videos online and they're like, oh, this guy needs to work more and not make less videos or take less pictures, right? And they just assume that, like, hey, this guy's lazy because he made a 10-second video, right?
Yeah.
And
they don't realize that 10-second video I posted took me like 7 days to edit, because the only time I had to do it while I was sitting at a truck stop having dinner.
Yeah.
And
well, they don't realize that for me, right? That like that 20-second, 10-second video, I was in a pinch because I was working, and I'm like, I had a couple of minutes to sit down and take a breather, and that's what I chose to do with my breather, was like make this video, post it, get back to work.
Yeah.
And also what they don't realize is that like everyone's watching. Consultants, safety hands, CEOs in fucking Calgary, they're watching. And
Yeah.
they all know that I come on site and they're like, Dick Frost is here, right? And I was like, hell yeah. And so I'm watched harder, right? They watch me harder because they're like, well, he makes videos. Is he going to work, right? So they watch me harder. They watch me like a hawk. And what they come to realize is that like, yeah, man, I'm making videos, but I'm busting my ass in between, right? Like,
Yeah.
whatever you need me to do. If now's not the time to make it, I'm not going to make it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I
There's a time and a place.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I figured it out. I'm like, hey, I have 10 minutes. What can I do with that 10 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to scarf down a sandwich and I'm going to make a video and I'm going to post it.
Yeah, totally. I see that 100%. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is they're like, oh, you just sit there and make videos all day. And that's not the case. It's like the clips that you take and things like that they take like 6 seconds to film.
Yeah. There's some videos that take me the course of like a week to do too, right? I need to be here for this one shot. Then I need to be somewhere else for another one. I need to be doing something else for another one, right? Those, I think, video sometimes has taken me like, shit, man. It took me a couple weeks to get everything I needed together. You know, a couple, like 2 or 3 seconds here, 2 or 3 seconds a couple days later. 5 seconds another few days after that, you know, and then you post it.
And that's the funny thing is like those videos are the ones that'll have no engagement, no nothing. Like you spent so many days and hours working on this video. It's absolutely nothing. And then you post a video of drinking a coffee and it just goes absolutely viral and you're like, what did I just do? Like I filmed this video, edited it in like 30 seconds. This one took a week to make. And they're like completely apples and potatoes.
Yeah. Yep. It's mind blowing, isn't it?
Yeah. All depends on like what time you posted and what hashtag you use. Like I still don't get it.
I got 1 million. It's on its way to 2 mil right now. I got a 1 million view video a week and a half ago, and it's me inside of a tank. I'm like, I wanted to be a comedian or POV. I thought I was funny in high school, so now I clean rig tanks for a living, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like pushing.
Oh, I actually watched that one.
Yeah, man, and I posted it at an off time, a time I don't usually post at, right?
Yeah.
And so I posted it off time. I threw it up there and it just fucking took off. Right. And it was just like, okay. All right.
Yeah. Sometimes it just works. Like the most random thing works. And I always found it, and I'm like a true believer, is like the less thinking you do into a post, the better. Because once you start overthinking it, it's over.
Yep. The moment you have to question whether or not it's funny or not, or like it's appropriate, or should I do this or that, it's done. Right? You just fucking be a mindless zombie and make it and throw it out.
That's why you follow Single Mom Talk, man.
That's why you.
The things they post are always like the popular things. So I mean, you just rip off them.
There you go. Hey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you know what viscosity is?
Like
just viscosity?
Like the viscousness of something. Like
if
I hold like a 1030 weight versus a 1040 weight, like in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's viscosity to you? What do you think of when you think of viscosity?
I just explained it. I did the finger thing and I compared it to oil. I'm like, one's a little slippery than the other.
All right. So where I'm going with it is the podcast is sponsored by the Mudman.
Okay. Which is quite viscous stuff.
It's quite viscous shit. So like the Mudman, he deals in thick loads. So,
yes, he does. Ironically, I do as well.
Oh shit.
Well, I mean, like on the trailer, they're
Yeah,
wide.
yeah, yeah.
They're
Damn boy, you
thick.
thick. Yeah, gotcha. You deal in a very viscous load on the
You
trailer.
really are in camp right now. You've been alone for so long. That's all you could think about.
That's all I think about all day long, buddy. I think of why do you think my name's Dick?
The life of a swamper. It just must be so entertaining. I'd love to know what goes on in your guys' heads all day. Just like the little chimpanzee with the symbols.
Yeah. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Hey. Da, 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 da. Hey.
Yeah. Because I mean, like I used to drive around with a swamper. I had Clayton in my truck, and I swear, like he slept more than he actually did things some days.
Hell yeah. That's the point of being a swamper, buddy.
Yeah.
You gotta, you know what? Why do I want to get my license, dude? Sure, I can make more money, but will I get as much sleep?
Yeah. No. But
Truck naps.
you get to drive the truck.
Yeah, I feel very scared for the people on the road if I was driving the truck. So like for
Have
me,
you
truck
ever
naps.
have you ever contemplated getting like jumping up to a class 1?
It's crossed my mind a few times, man. I can't get the shift pattern. I look at it and I see the matrix. I'm good, man. You know, I'll stick to being a swamper, man.
Can you shift
I
a
make
car?
enough money. I can't
Like-
shift a car, but I'm sure I could if I really
It's the
wanted
same thing. All like if you look at that little picture, that picture that's on the top of the shifter, that's a terrifying picture.
to. It is.
But that's not how it is. It makes it look a lot more complicated than it is.
It
And after
terrifies
a
the
while-
shit out of me.
And after a while, you don't even realize like it's 8 holes, man.
But
That's it.
when do I shift to gear 1? When do I go to gear 2? When do I split the shit? When do I split the gears and go to like gear fucking 7 or 8?
After a while, you just hear it. It's all on sound. And I mean, obviously your RPM tack works as well too, but I mean, after a while you just know. It's no different than shifting a car after a while. But I agree that the thought concept behind it, like getting your license and that initial shock of like looking down and being like, oh my God, what does this mean? I get it.
So I get that up and to the left is reverse. I know that. I know every time that you got to pass, that you got to shift gears, you got to pass back through neutral to get to the next gear.
Like any manual vehicle.
Sure, I've never driven a manual vehicle before, so I know all
Fair
that.
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, man. So like, anyway, the Mudman, the Mudman. You know, for all your laboratory testing equipment, needs, you know, call the Mudman. www.mudmarket.com. If you got a thick load, the Mudman's got your front and your back.
That he does.
Thanks,
Mudman.
Thanks, Mudman. Appreciate it, dog. Oh shit! I wonder if you would, if I could send in a sample just to see how viscous I am.
I mean, after a week in camp, I mean, you're probably quite viscous.
Oh, 3 weeks. Yeah, it'll be 3 weeks by the time I get home.
That is just so long to be gone for.
2 hitches ago, I was gone for 8 weeks.
Like so long.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. Like,
that one was fairly easy. I was working on a pipeline about 20 minutes away from home in Fort Sask.
Okay.
So like I went home every night. Home every night. I changed the oil. I did what I had to do, you know, tune
you
up.
cheated.
And yeah, I did.
Yeah.
You know what? 12 years of leaving home and not being home, I took one back.
Fair enough. Every once in a while, it's good to do that. Like, it's not very often that a job comes up in your backyard for that long.
It's not. Yeah, it was fun. It was worth it. It was a good time. Both the wife and I couldn't walk after a week. Yeah, we were both walking funny.
Chasing you around the house, right? She was
no.
She was like, "Get out of here! Go back to work."
I'm into pegging.
And here I am
Shit.
thinking this was going to be a family show. I've been pouring twisted teas into a thermos for the last hour.
Oh, buddy, you can drink the twisted teas. You can say whatever you want, man. If the kids are listening, that's not my issue.
It's not the kids, man. It's my mom.
Oh shit! Well, dude, get your mom to listen to episode what is it, 49? Called Accommodator. She'll love it.
Mom. Sorry.
Hi, Mom. Do you have another device with you right now?
Of course I do.
Google the accommodator.
The accommodator?
The accommodator. And you need to look at Google Images when you do it. And dude.
This isn't like a blue waffle kind of thing, is it?
No blue waffles. No waffles of any kind. Like, when you look at this thing, like
what the fuck?
Can you explain what you see to us right now? Because honestly, dude, like, how can you imagine how that thing works? Give us details. What do you see?
I'm more terrified for my browsing history after and what Google's gonna recommend to me from now on. That is.
Yeah. Do you think your jaw would break? Do you think that would be detrimental to your jaw?
It's like you know that thing you have braces, like the headgear when you have braces?
Yes.
But instead of it fixing your teeth, it just destroys other holes.
Yeah, man, and apparently it allows for your mouth to be free to do other things. Lesbians love it.
I'm at a loss for words. After all these years working in the industry, like, you think I'd seen it all? Nope.
Can you imagine if that thing had batteries?
The accommodator.
The accommodator. I'm getting one for Mrs. Frost for Christmas.
Ho ho ho.
So shit. Ho ho ho.
Turkey's not going to be the only thing stuffed over Christmas.
Santa Claus isn't the only one coming in town.
Jesus.
Oh shit! This episode could be the accommodator part 2.
Oh, I'm gonna have nightmares about that thing tonight.
Yeah, man. You definitely don't need to like hide the twisted teas. And hey, man,
I'm
your
not.
freak flag fly.
Just a water bottle, man.
Just the water bottle. Yep. Yeah. No, Mrs. Frost is getting one for Christmas, along with one of those ones that I can control with a phone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, buddy.
What is that?
She's gonna be doing dishes. She's gonna be doing dishes, man. Like the naughty housewives of
You're gonna come home and you're not gonna have a plate left because every single one of them is gonna be broken.
That's hopefully the plan, right? Like, honey, I had to go buy new dishes. I broke them all. How'd you do that?
Well, funny story. You did.
Yeah. You technically broke them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you control it in camp, dude, I'm getting one. Oh, might get one for myself too.
God, you're a lonely man.
It's sad, but it's true. It's true. Shit,
at least you could laugh about it, right? Like, I mean, if you can't laugh about your loneliness, what's the point of being lonely?
Oh, 100%, dude. You know, and I'm not lonely. I got my favorite toy with me every day.
Your phone.
It is kind of thick and black, yeah.
Okay. You have a black water bottle too?
Dude, I got a black everything. Check out this mic. This mic is black. Speaking of which, the Mudman did provide me with this mic and headset. So, you know.
Do you carry like a big box of like audio gear with you when you go to camp?
So
like
this
I'm thinking,
bag,
like I am imagining you walking into camp right now with like just Pelican cases.
This bag.
Okay.
Yeah, so I carry I carry my suitcase
Yeah.
and my backpack, and then I have that bag full of. I call it my podcast bag.
Fair
And I
enough.
carry my podcast bag. Yeah.
I got a backpack that's the same thing. It's a camera bag.
Yeah, I carry it with me everywhere, and even if I'm leaving camp for a day, right? If I'm going somewhere else, and I don't know if I'll be back that night, and I don't even have a podcast planned, I carry it with me because you never know when a spontaneous podcast will just erupt.
Fair enough.
Yeah, man, I've had them where it's like, hey, man, what are you doing tonight? Nothing. Why? Podcast? I'm free in 20 minutes.
This one.
Minutes. Let's go.
This one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, this one was like 2 hours, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, still though, quite spontaneous.
Yeah, Chase Barber was 20 minutes. You know who Chase is.
I do, yeah. I've followed Chase for a long time, and I love the Edison crew. Like, I think what they're doing is the coolest thing ever.
Oh, yeah, they're doing pickups now.
Yeah, fuck the pickups. I'm talking just like the big trucks, the vocational trucks. I think that's just the raddest idea ever.
Yeah, man.
Like, it makes so much logical sense. I don't know why no one's thought of it before.
They probably have. They just didn't have Chase Barber with Chase Barber's brains.
Yeah. Crazy. A couple loggers
in
BC can figure out how to make just the most badass vocational truck around.
Hell yeah, man. You know, I first met Chase when him and Jordan asked me to come on their podcast. Right? This was 2 years ago.
You know,
they asked me to come on their podcast.
Let's rewind for a second because they also asked me to be on their podcast. I'm friends with them on Snapchat.
Yep, same.
We talked originally they add you to Snapchat, you guys talk on Snapchat, and then kind of like this situation happened and I just couldn't commit.
Yeah.
And it never happened. But that's one I'd like to do as well.
You got to get on their podcast. Their podcast is a lot of fun. I've been on it twice now. You know, we've had a lot of similar guests. The podcasts are very similar. You know, mine's a lot longer. Theirs don't go that long sometimes. But you know, I've had them on, and you know, amazing people. So they asked me to come on their podcast. Been on it twice. Then we exchanged phone numbers. I text Chase quite often. We talk, you know, we yada yada yada, and I love Chase. Chase is amazing, and I'm glad that, you know, I've been here for the ride since long before he even hit a million followers.
Yeah.
Since he hit that real stride of growth, and you know, that's amazing. You know, I'm happy to be be a cheerleader.
Yeah, totally. He's a
group hug in the showers tonight.
He's just a genius, I think.
He's a fucking complete genius, man. He was on this podcast. He was like, shit, dude. I think he was like in the late 20s. I want to say late 20s. He was on this podcast, maybe episode 29, because I think he was on just before we did the blue collar females in August. And so,
actually, I know Mo. When you
Mo
did Mo's, I know her. She followed me.
Mo's a jam.
She followed me like a long time. I think like when I was still doing TikToks.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to Edmonton a few times and ended up hanging out with her and her friends and stuff like that. And it's been super cool.
Mo's a gem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Mo. Man, this podcast has allowed me to meet, interact, get to know, and become good friends with a lot of cool people, man. A lot of cool people, and a lot of people within my niche. A lot of blue collar people in general. You know, I don't know what my niche would be. Would it be blue collar or oil field? Would I be technically in the blue collar niche and then in the sub niche of oil field? I don't know how that would work.
I don't even know like even what I'm in. Like, I mean, definitely like trucker, but like, aside from that, like, it's hard to put a label on because a lot of my things there's blue collar things, there's just life things, there's dad things, and now I've really, like, now that I've been home more, like, I've really embraced cooking. And that's like my next thing is like I want to start a TikTok page or an Instagram page or something just dedicated to what I cook.
I did that on the road. When I go on the road crew, I have an air fryer, and I have a series on TikTok called "Cooking with Dick."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I use the air fryer, but the cat's out of the bag on that one already because my wife gives me all the instructions. I'll be on the phone with her. I'll be like, "Okay, what do I do?" She
Oh,
tells me. I hang up with her. I film my piece. I call her back, and then I film my piece. I call her back, and that we do that for the whole fucking video every day.
okay.
Yeah, it's great.
I just enjoy cooking. Like I find it such a like almost like a therapy release.
Yeah.
I ate so much shitty food on the road for 2 weeks. There's only so many truck stop chicken wings and dry rib bites that the human body can withstand. And
Yeah.
like I'm pretty sure right now if you were to chop my arm off and I'd bleed out, it'd be 90% Red Bull and truck stop chicken wings.
There you go.
So it fuels me. But like when I come home, I enjoy the process of just going to the kitchen and cooking.
I'm
Good
sure like the
food.
the food thing on the road, you know, like I was gonna ask you about that actually. Like when you're a trucker on the road and you're eating that kind of shitty food and you're alone and shit like that, that's gotta weigh on your mental health too, right?
Big time. Big time.
Yeah.
The fact that you're like in that truck for 15 hours a day. According to the DOT handbook, 15 hours a day. So there's only like so much you're alone that whole time. Your mental health is dwindles fast if you don't have positive thoughts. And
Yeah.
that's why I spend a lot of time like talking to my family and talking to friends and things like that. I'll call people at 2:00 in the morning just so I could hear a voice because it gets lonely on the road, man. And then like trying to stay healthy by eating. Like, yeah, a lot of guys you see have air fryers in their trucks and toaster ovens and things like that, but they're also in their trucks all the time. And I spend 2 weeks in my truck and then I leave for a week and things like that. And a lot of the time I just don't want to cook in my truck. I enjoy the fact that for that hour I can get out of my truck, I can go into a restaurant, and even if I don't speak to a single person, there's just people around me. I could watch a football game or a hockey game on the TV, and it's just other voices other than your own. And I take complete solace in that. And my mom always asks me, she's like, you know, are you eating well on the road and things like that? And friends are like, you know, how do you cook? And the easy answer to that is I don't. I eat in a restaurant, and I make sure I plan my stops around like when I can eat and get fuel. That's about it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Are you on a logbook now? Or like
I've always ran an electronic logbook since the day that they became mandated in here. Yeah. Unfortunately.
What are your thoughts? Oh, there you go. What do you think of them? And like, do you think they're worse or better?
Honestly, I think the idea behind it is great, but at the same time, I also think that we're all grown-ass men and women, and if we don't know when to pull over because we're tired, like, if you're tired, pull over. And that goes even with the law, even with the ELD. If you're tired, pull over. Like, no one's going to get pissy at you over a deadline that even because you've been up for 15 hours and the roads have been shitty and you just physically can't do it. I'm pretty sure the consultant or whoever would just be happy to know that whatever commodity you have on your trailer will get there safe, even if it's 3 hours late.
Yeah,
right?
100%. And the guy driving it also made it home.
Yeah. But there is room for improvement, because I think the ELD thing, it works great if you're trucking down the Trans-Canada Highway. It doesn't take into account that a lot of us don't. And a lot of us aren't on highway drivers. A lot of us spend a lot of our time in the bush. And we might go into the bush at 3 o'clock in the morning and come out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But we also might have sat on that lease for 5 hours doing absolutely nothing. And then the fact that I put my truck into drive for 30 seconds to cross the lease because a water truck pulls up beside me and needs to get to the tank behind me, and then it kicks it back in, and all of a sudden I'm lost time again. Like,
well, no,
I think
if you don't,
that doesn't work well. And you truck down the highway, there's rest stops everywhere down the Trans-Canada Highway.
Isn't it if you go under 10 kilometers an hour, it won't register it?
Your truck goes under 10 kilometers an hour?
Yeah, if you drive it under 10 kilometers on lease, if you need to move out of the way for that water truck and you crawl out of the way, it won't register.
Oh, yeah. If you go like... I don't have that in me. The guy tells me to move, I put it in the big hole and let the cat eat.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, I don't know. The infrastructure here where we live isn't capable of handling the ELD. There's not enough truck stops, and the truck stops we do have are completely underserviced. There's no restaurants in them. There's no toilet in a lot of them. It's just like a 30-foot pull-out on the side of the road with absolutely nothing. And to convince a guy to be like, all right, I got an hour left in my logbook. It's going to get me to between A and B, right? As an example. I'm going to get to that midpoint. I'm going to run out, and I do it quite often. And I know it's not a hidden thing. You get to that point and you're like, fuck this. I'm not sitting here. And you just log out completely out of the truck. You drive your hour and a half, and when it comes back, it'll pop up. It'll go, do you accept or reject this? And you reject it. And you know that when you go into the DOT side of it, it'll say, this trip is rejected. But what are you going to tell the guy? You're like, I'm in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Why am I going to stay here for the next 8 hours before I can move my truck? And there's absolutely nothing around me. I can't get out. I can't go to the bathroom. I can't go eat. I can't do anything. I'm just stuck here. Is that better for me to rest here in this spot? Or am I going to get more of a rest if I truck illegally an hour down the road to where I have to be? And I could have, go get a coffee. I could go speak to people, and I could get out of that. What health is more important? The immediate health of, the logbook saying this is what you have to do, and they're gonna trust that I'm just gonna go to sleep? Or is it better as a whole health that I could drive an hour down the road and I could live a normal human life? Right?
That's a fair point.
So that's my idea behind it.
Chase Barber was telling me about it. He's like, I think it's counterproductive and more dangerous because now you got drivers racing the clock, right? They're like, well, now, oh shit, I only have 2 hours left. Now I'm going to speed. So like what you just said, so I can get somewhere where I'm going to be more comfortable.
I don't care what anyone says. There is not a grown man on this earth that sees a clock counting down and is going to be like, you know what? I'm going to take my time. Any grown man sees a clock counting down and they're going to be like, my foot's to the fucking floor and I'm going to see how far I can get before that clock runs out.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It comes into one of those things. It's like challenge accepted. And that's how, unfortunately, a lot of people work. And at times I do the same thing. I'm not saying that like I'm like some angel that, lives and dies by the logbook. Sometimes I put my foot to the floor and I'm like, fuck this, I don't care. I'm gonna get home. I'm not going to take a reset in Poos Koopy. Like,
That's right.
I'm gonna try drive the extra 45 minutes and hope I don't get pulled over, in hopes that I can actually make it home and take my 36 hours at home with my family and my kid, and not be in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, why the fuck would I want to fucking sleep in Poos Koopy when there's only 45 minutes to home? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I get that.
I'm a big believer in that, and I will forever. I'll never not change that stance and that opinion. Is we just need to be grown ass men and women about it, and we shouldn't have to be fighting a computer all the time.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. I agree with you. I'm right there. As a swamper, I'm not bound by a logbook, so when the driver is timed out, if he's getting switched out, a lot of the time it's like, hey, swamper, you're staying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't mind.
And you don't even have a sleeper in that thing either. Like, you guys got to cuddle up like a couple weirdos.
We got a sleeper.
Do you guys in that thing?
Yeah, man. In vac trucks, fuck yeah.
Oh. You see, a lot of them don't. A lot of them have that little stand-up shower cubby thing.
So yeah, we have a sleeper, and then yeah, there's the wash cabinet, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
you guys can cuddle and take a shower after.
Yeah, there you go. The the driver likes to go sleep in the bunk, and I lay across the seats.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, or I found I don't mind it. I'm short. I can fall asleep in that seat, no problem. I can like assume the fetal position and like, just it's all good, man. And I'm good to go. I can sleep anywhere. I'm a good swamper because I can sleep anywhere.
Yeah. I've had some of the best sleeps ever in the back of my truck.
Yep. Well, hey, last week the driver, so he says to me, he's like, hey, can you do me a favor? And I'm like, depends on what you're willing to trade for it. He's like, you do me this favor, you can have the bunk. And I'm like, done. Right? Fucking, I went out, I did everything I had to do, and I got her done. And when I got back to it, he's like, hey, man, he's like, yeah, we're not needed for like the next few hours here. He's like, crawl in the bunk and you do your thing. It was like the middle of the night. So I was like, damn. You're damn straight, buddy. I took full advantage of it.
Yeah.
I stretched out across the bunk.
How did you find your way into the oil patch? Did you were you from Alberta and you kind of that's just the way you were born into it kind of thing? Or are you from elsewhere and you moved here for it?
I'm from Ontario originally.
Okay.
And I moved out to BC a long time ago, and we were in BC for a couple months, and then we found our way to Saskatoon. And when I was in Saskatoon, I was working in Leon's furniture warehouse in the warehouse there for $13 an hour, and I was gonna max out at 14, right? And I'm like, I didn't move out here just to make $14 an hour. Yeah. So I'm working in the warehouse, and I'm searching for other things. And I knew I wanted to get into the oil field, but I had no idea. I had no idea how to do it. Didn't know anybody. And then this guy comes into the Leon's one day, and he's working there now. He's working on one of the delivery trucks, and he had just come from the rigs. The rig slowed down. He got laid off, and we got to talking. And he's like, "Well, first of all, you need to get your H2S and your first aid." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I looked into it, and within a month I had booked my H2S, and I had gotten my H2S and my first aid, and I did that. And he's like, it was nice knowing you, buddy. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you got your H2S now. He's like, you're off to the races. You're not going to work here no more. And I'm like, all right. So I needed a push. I was the only full-time employee there. They were all at Leon's in the warehouse. They were all starting to be like students, part-time students.
Yeah.
And they were looking for any reason to get rid of me so they could bring in another part-time student because I was costing them too much money, right? And I remember my one boss, he said to me, where do you see yourself
in the next 5 years. And I'm like making a lot
Not
more
here.
money than I am now. Right. And he's like, all right, I can see that in you. Right. So he, I got out of there and they found any reason to get rid of me. And I don't want to talk about the reason they found because like it didn't happen. And I was pissed. I walked down the side of the highway. Like I was an hour and a half walk from home. I got home in 45 minutes. I was pissed. And it was cold out. And but that ended up being what I needed.
Yeah.
And so I applied for a job and within I want to say within a week or two, I was on my way to Peace River.
Okay.
And they picked me up and we were on our way to Peace River. And while I was in Peace River, I didn't like what I was doing. And so I was applying for other jobs and I ended up coming across this guy who worked in Grand Prairie. And he had a gravel crusher.
Okay.
And he worked for Praxis Earthworks. I don't know if you have heard heard of Praxis or not, but they were
No.
big around GP. So I applied, and he's like, "Can you be here tomorrow?" I'm like, "Man, I don't have wheels, and like I'm in Peace River right now." He's like,
Yeah.
"Stay where you are." He's like, "I'll have someone come get you." I'm like, "Okay, sounds good to me." The next morning,
See you in an hour.
the next morning they were there picking me up, and I just fucked off. I left. I told them, I'm like, this isn't for me. Someone's gonna come pick me up. Like I can't be here. And he was cool with that. He's like, I get it. So picked me up, took me to GP, and that's when I started making good money. And I was one of the lowest paid guys on the crew, and I think my take home for a whole month. I took home 12 grand.
Okay.
I'd never seen money like that in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I was hooked. Right. Before my first paycheck, one of my coworkers said to me, I said, man, I gotta buy my wife flowers to say sorry for being gone. Like, sorry, I'm away. That was hard. It was hard on both of us.
Totally.
And he's like, he looks at me and I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. He looks at me, he's like, why would you buy her flowers? I'm like, for to say sorry I'm gone. I need a good nice active gesture, nice gesture, you know what I mean? And he's like, dude, why don't you buy her a car? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And I didn't know how much my paycheck was yet. There was no way to check online. You couldn't check your pay stub online to see how much it was going to be. And I had no idea what he meant. And then the money hit my bank account on Friday morning, and I looked. My wife told me, or I looked. I can't remember. And I bought her a car. Like I was blown away. But I knew right then and there that if I don't like this job, I just found 6,000 reasons why to like this job.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. And I ended up liking it. I ended up really liking it. And I was there for 8 or 9 months. I was there for my first gig, man. And I met some amazing people. I met a guy who, as a young kid who didn't know much about being away or the oil field, I had a guy who would take me out to dinner every night. He would buy me my dinner. And he's like, you're a young kid. He's like, you're just your first crack at it. He's like, you save your money, man. I got you. And I didn't want him to do it, but he did it. And I'm cheap. So I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm in.
Oil field dad, right? Oil field dad.
Yes. Exactly, buddy. Exactly. Every young kid needs to find an older guy on the crew that they mesh with. He ended up, I went home on days off, and he ended up getting hit and killed by a drunk driver while he was away from his wife and kids after Christmas. Crazy. And he died. Sad day. That guy was a solid dude. And, but I was in the air coming back to work because I lived in Saskatoon at the time. And I was in the air. I flew back to work. I started that job taking Greyhounds back and forth. And I ended up flying near the end, right? I'm like, making that money, balling out, right? I'm flying. Fuck this. And I was in the air. I landed in Calgary, and the boss, my boss, he went to bat for me a lot. A young guy. I fucked up a lot, right? I had to learn.
and he went to bat for me a lot. You know, he's like, hey guys, he's young. You know, he's 19 or 20 or some shit at the time, and he's young. And
Yeah.
I was there. I like work ethic wise, I was there. I'd do anything. Was it safe? No. Did I have a big mouth? Absolutely. I'd fucking mouth you off. I didn't care who you were. And I was in the air, and when I landed in Calgary, I got a text saying he quit. The one guy who was on my side quit.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit. And then I get back in the air, land in Edmonton. They're like, you're working nights tonight. And when you get to Grand Prairie, you got to drive up to Fairview. And I didn't sleep all the night before. That was my very first night shift. Man, what a fucking disaster that was. I was in the skid steer. I learned to become a man that night. I was in the skid steer, and I must have fallen asleep at some point. I came to, and I was moving the belt. I pushed the fucking belt of the plant like 10 feet that way, and the gravel was piling up on the ground. Right. So I took the rake that was on the end of it. I flattened out the mess I had made, and I moved the belt back before anyone had noticed.
Yeah.
Right. And nobody had noticed. It was good. It was great. And then I was out shoveling some shit out from behind one of the belts, and the guys were bombing around in the loaders and shit. And in the morning, the one guy came up to me. He's like, man, how big of a mess was that? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you were there for like 3 hours. I fell asleep on my knees. It was -50 out. And I got my gear on, and I fell asleep behind the fucking thing. And I was just like on my knees cleaning it all. I didn't know. And they knew. They saw it.
They watched it all.
Disaster. They watched it all. They thought it was funny, man. After that shift, I went back to my room. I only slept for 4 hours, but it was the best fucking sleep of my life.
That's such an epic story, though. Like,
yeah.
And it's always happens. Like, something terrible goes wrong. You think you're absolutely alone. No one can see, and it's just like one person will walk up to you after you've cleaned everything up or fixed whatever it was. And they're like, I saw that whole thing go down. And I'm like, you couldn't have said something? You couldn't have come to help? Like,
they watched the belt thing. They saw the belt thing afterwards. They were telling me about it. Buddy's like, yeah, man. He's like, I knew you had it. He's like, I knew what had happened. And back then safety wasn't a big thing, right? They, you know, he fell asleep in the equipment in the middle of the night. You know, like, that's a big fucking deal now, right? And like, right, that's a big fucking deal now. And so he's like, I noticed it happening. He's like, I watched the skid steer stop. I saw you get out. He's like, he's like, I couldn't see it or hear it, but I knew what you were saying. You were screaming fuck like 100 times, and I was. And he's like, I watched you flatten everything out, move it back by yourself, and then he's like, I watched you get out and look around too. He's like, nobody give a fuck, Ben. You fixed it. It's all good. Don't worry about it. And I worked there for like 8 months, man. I got my buddy a job on there, and this back when Showgirls was around. He spent $1,500 a week in there for like fucking.
Is that in Fort Mac?
No, it's Diamonds now. It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, man, that was good.
Before my time in Grand Prairie.
What's that?
That's long before my time in Grand Prairie.
Oh, dude, this was. Fuck, what year was this? It was probably 2011.
Okay, yeah. I moved to Grand Prairie in 2015.
Okay.
2014.
Yeah. After I left that job, I went to Fort Mac. I went to Fort Mac. I did a stint in Fort Mac for like 3 years. That's
not a stint. A stint is like you went there for like 2 or 3 weeks, left, and never came back. You basically moved to Fort Mac for 2 years.
I wasted away in Fort Mac behind all the red tape and safety regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that, and then I went screw piling for a while, and then oh shit, where did I go after the screw piling thing? I think I went back to Ontario for just a tiny little bit. Yeah. And then we came back out
went to Edmonton. Moved to Edmonton, and that's I got a job. I worked at a lot of jobs around Edmonton. I tried to stay home for a little bit. I tried to work around town and be at home, but found that I was so used to being forced to go to work that the first time it was beautiful outside, I called in sick, and if it got beautiful again, I was calling in sick again. And
Yeah.
you know, I wanted to hang out with my wife, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then I quickly realized it's not the money that kept me from working in town. It's the strict schedule and shit like that forces me to go to work. That makes me that makes me like, you know, get up and go. And yeah, after that, I went and worked at Frack Shack for a while. I did a little Frack Shack stint there. It was like 8 months at Frack Shack. Tried to get the fuck out of there the whole time. In between all that, every summer I'd work on the road crew. So I've been there for almost 10 years. And then I met a guy on site at Frack Shack. When I was with Frack Shack, I met a guy on site that worked for the vac company here. And I was networking at the time. I was trying to get the fuck out of there. So I was asking everybody what they do. I almost went wirelining. And then they
good choice on not doing that.
Yeah. And then so I met Wayne. His name's Wayne, and he's like, "Yeah, man, we're always hiring. We're always busy." And so I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I made that phone call, and it took me 3 months to make the jump. But once I made the jump, I've been here ever since. 5 years.
That's crazy. It's a long time to be at a company nowadays. Like a lot of people I find are like, they come and go, and you know, as the wind blows, so will they, right? Like, you know, people will jump at $1 to go somewhere else, thinking the grass is greener somewhere else, not taking into account that, you know, put a little water in that field you're in, and it'll turn to grass eventually.
Yeah, man. Yep, absolutely. And the grass is usually greener on the other side because it's fertilized with bullshit.
Exactly.
So yeah. And so, you know, I'm very loyal to a fault, right? Like, do I want to work here for the last 5 years? No. But I'm loyal to a fault, right? And also, I'm a very big believer in stay with the one that brought you.
Yeah.
You know, because minus the exception with the fucking Frack Shack. Fuck that place. If you're listening to this, go fuck yourself. But
from the bottom of my heart, I mean it.
Hey, I mean, dude, the nickname is Nap Shack. So, you know, like, honestly, if I had been making TikToks while working there, fuck, I would have blown right up. That's all I would have had time for. So,
also, though, if you were still there making TikToks, you probably still wouldn't be there.
I would have got fired from that job for making TikToks. Oh, 100%. They didn't want that shit. But no, man, you know, 5 years here and stay with the one who brought you. You know what I mean? Like when times slow down, who do you think they're going to get rid of first?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're going to get rid of new guy in first. Get the hell out of here.
The new guy and the loud guy. Those are the first guys to go.
Shit. I guess I'm gone.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, I've always been the loud guy too.
Yeah, man. Hey, you know what though? But things have been slow here. You know, I've been here through dark times. You know what I mean? And I stuck through here. You know, when times were bad, I've stayed right here. I should have left. I stayed. And you know, I've seen a lot of guys come and go. You know, and there's a core group of guys here that have been here for a long time. A lot of them have been here for a decade. Some of them, you know, and it's like, fuck yeah, man. Like, you know, when a new guy comes in and all the old guys that have been there forever, they take a look at someone, they spend 10 minutes with them, listen to them talk, be like, yeah, that guy's not making it. He's not staying.
They know exactly how it is.
Like, we know. We're going to chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't leave, we'll find a way to get rid of you.
One way or another, in a month and a half, you won't be here.
Oh, shit, dude. Some guy came for orientation. He did orientation, didn't make it out to site, and he's like, this ain't for me, and he left.
I remember my first job in the oil patch was with a hydrovac company. And I remember I got into the truck with the guy, and the guy asked me something that we won't talk about. He's like, do you smoke this? I'm like, no. He's like, well, I do. I'm like, okay. And we drove to site. And I called the supervisor and I'm like, you need to come get me. He's like, why? I'm like, because I quit. And he's like, really? I'm like, yep. He's like, well, I can't come get you. I'm like, well, I still quit. And I'm not coming home with the guy. And I remember I fucking called a buddy. He came and picked me up off of the Canfor Road.
Yeah.
Like just before the Gold Creek Road. That's where he picked me up. And I never went back for the company, never went back for the paycheck, never went back for nothing. It was a back company. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, around GP, shit, there could only be
1,000.
That's not name. I'm not gonna start naming them, man. You know what I mean? Everyone listens. It's a big industry, small community.
It was one of those things, and I went to Fort Mac, and I worked there for 8 months on a tank farm project, and then I came back here, and I just went trucking.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Went to rocking.
Yeah, to a sense. I've been with Anytime now for, this is my 3rd time with them. But I've always left on like good terms and always been like, if I can help you guys in any way, like let me know. And every time I've needed work or I've taken a job elsewhere and realized that, the grass isn't greener on the other side, I've always given them a phone call back and been like, I want to come back. And I've always been given that opportunity to come back, which I'm extremely grateful for. That's
hell yeah, man.
And I won't go anywhere else. Like, where I'm at is home now.
Times. Yeah, I've been offered a couple different jobs from different back companies, and one I almost took because it was fertilized with bullshit. And I almost took. He made it sound real good, and he wanted me to make content for him, which was cool, man. Like where I was going with this, that was appealing, right? I was like, damn, all right, and I just couldn't just up and leave though, and I had made the commitment to the road crew for the summer, and he kept trying to make me leave, and he's like, hey, what? He kept sweetening the pot. Right. And every time I turned around, it was a new and better opportunity. And he may have sweetened it too much because he scared the shit out of me. And it was what happened. And then my boss here got wind of it. And then, when I called him to tell him I was done on the road and I was coming back, he's like, I heard you were going here. And I'm like, that was an opportunity. But like, if I'm going to leave this company, I'm not leaving it for another vac company.
Yeah.
Right. When I leave this company, I'm done with the vac industry. I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is it for me, and my boss has been amazing. For me, he's allowed me to make the content. He's allowed for the content to keep going. At this point now, they can't stop that train. I'd quit. I make almost as much money on the internet as I do at work now. Yeah. So I would quit. And there's lots of places up there that would allow for me to make the content now. So but this is where I want to be, right? And that might also play a reason into why I don't want to get my class 1 or 3 is, eventually I do want to leave here, right? Class 1 or 3 would make this permanent, full-time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even have your 3? I thought you had your 3.
I don't have my 3. I'm gonna go. I might get my 3, but we'll see.
Honestly, like I don't know. I can't imagine going through the hoops now to get a license versus like when I got a license. Like the fact,
it's expensive now.
The cost barrier alone. That like for however long up until they changed all these rules. Like anyone can be a truck driver. Anyone that had the grit to be one could be one. Now there's like a serious financial barrier to it that people are just like, if I'm going to spend $10,000 on something, like I could go spend $10,000 and be anything I want, really. Well, to an extent, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, it's not, the cheap trade to get into anymore where you can make cash. Now you got to seriously commit to it.
Yeah, it's like it's like going to college and dropping money on tuition to get in, right? Yeah.
Well, it's exactly it, because you could go to the college here. Was it Northwestern Polytechnic? You do class 1 training through them.
Yeah. If I want to, I can do it, and they would pay for it here.
Yeah, well, that's
right.
that's really awesome. They do that.
Yeah, they have I think it's called the TAC program or something like that. That they'd pay for it, and I'd just have to stay for a year after I get my license, and or they would take it back. But I don't get how they would take the money back, because honestly, it'd be like, well, I'm going on days off now, and then just stay home for a whole pay period.
Yeah,
and leave.
were they going to send you an invoice?
You send me that invoice. I'll have my people contact your people.
Yeah, never.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck with that. Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, man, I don't want to keep it too long. It's getting pretty late.
It is. You got to work tomorrow.
I do. I have, one question I like to usually ask to wrap the podcast up and just send her home with. And
absolutely.
So, Mount Rushmore has 4 of the most influential people in North American history on there. If you have
American history, not North American history.
I do that all the fucking time. Well, depends on who you ask. So American history. If you had your own Mount Rushmore with 4 people that you look up to, inspire to be, and that inspire you, who would they be and why? Who would be up there? They could be dead, alive, real, not real. You could be yourself. It doesn't matter.
My dad, because he was a truck driver for years growing up. And I remember as a kid, that was my first taste of being in a low bed. And at the time, I really took it for granted as a kid. And even all through, my teenage years and things like that. I never wanted to be a truck driver originally. And every time that he'd bring it up to me, I'd instantly turn my nose to it, and I'd make it seem like it was a shitty job for shitty people kind of thing. And it took me growing up and joining the industry to really understand that everything that he did for us as kids, for me and my brother, was because of it. He sacrificed so much to be away working for Labatt's when I was very, very little. I'm talking before I was born, and that one age. He was away working for Labatt's, and then he went pipelining, and I remember us moving to all the areas we went Fernie and Cranbrook and all these different places with him on down the line, and he low-bedded, and he did everything for us. No matter the hours that he worked or anything like that, he was always there and present. In the most literal sense that you could possibly think of, he was there for us. And so definitely he would be on there, because I wouldn't drive right now if it wasn't for him. The other one, my boss, Delmer, because he literally taught me everything that I know in this industry. It wouldn't be without him. And he's become one of my best friends, and literally that oil field dad that I could talk to about anything, anytime. I know he's there. 2 more?
Yeah. Man, you've got some good ones here. This is good.
2 more. Okay. I wanted to say someone cool that everyone knows, but I don't think like that. Donald Trump.
Okay.
I think just the conversations that he'd have, and in a conversation, would be absolutely epic. And it's for no other reason. It's not a motivational source to me, or someone I want to be like. I'm not in the same industry as him or anything like that. I just think he's rad as hell. And he's just got so many different opinions on everything.
Yeah.
That, like, he's just, like, an influential human being that entertains and also, like, he's just there all the time.
Two things that Donald Trump said during his presidency that made me laugh. Like, the dude's funny as fuck, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. Like, the dude's funny, and I think there's some intention there. But he said, if we just stopped testing for COVID, the numbers wouldn't be so high.
Right.
I was just like, the dude's got a fucking point.
Like, pure fucking logic. Like,
right?
logic-based answers. I love it. Don't sugarcoat it. Like, that's the way it is.
Okay. Shit.
And my fourth one would be... Can I just have, like, 3 people on a fucking mountain? Like, why do I need a fourth? Who decided that Mount Rushmore needed 4?
Whoever chiseled the rock. I don't know.
So I got 3. I got my dad, my grandfather,
and Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
So he did say, one of my other favorite sound bites of his, it was right after like a hurricane. And he's like, from a water standpoint, this is one of the wettest hurricanes.
Wait, no, that is 4. I literally have 4. Donald Trump, my dad, my grandfather, and my boss.
Oh,
so the only one that I haven't spoken about would be my grandfather.
Yeah, you never spoke about your grandpappy.
Yeah, Diela. I'm Russian, so Diela. But Diela is my dad's dad. And he was just a really cool old Doukhobor man. And he did construction all his life. Built so where I grew up in BC, it's just dams. There's down the Kootenay River and the Columbia River, there's dams everywhere. And at that time, they were all
the
being
W.C.
built.
Bennett Dam?
No, I'm talking like the Brilliant Dam, the Arrow Lake Dam, and all the other ones up Kootenay Lake.
Okay.
So, because I grew up in southern BC. So, and then I remember as I got older, he drove city bus. Like, around that retirement age. Like, he drove city bus just to do something. And he always had stories. And just his mannerisms in general and the things that he says. And I catch them now as I get older. I say them, like, instead of cheers, I say bing. I don't know why. I don't know why Diela used to say it. But every time he used to cheers, he'd say bing. And I now instinctively do it as well. And so, I mean, that's one of the things that I'd want to ask him if I ever had a chance to speak to him again. Like, I'd want to know why he says bing. But he was very influential, I know, on my dad to becoming a truck driver. And I know that if he had a chance to see what I do now and the things I move and stuff like that, that he'd be pretty stoked about it. So I just wish I
he's probably got
share that with him.
He's probably got like a post-hummus like stiffy.
Yeah.
He's watching,
so that's my 4. I got 2 family members, my boss, and Donald Trump.
Fuck, dude. He's like a third soundbite from Trump that made me laugh, and I use it quite a bit, and especially when I'm talking about Winnipeg. He's like, 80% of Chicagoans are already dead. 80% of people from Chicago are already dead. Like, what? What?
Like, who says things like that?
Donald Trump. Shit, dude. Donald Trump. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Because, like, I'm pretty sure 80% of people in Winnipeg are already dead, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like Canada's version, right?
Holy shit. So I'm part of the Dirty Hands Clean Money chat there on Instagram. And
a bunch of them are from California, and they were talking the other day, and they're like, it's awfully quiet in here. I think us Californians scared the rest of them. And I chimed in. I'm like, buddy, I'm from a place where like Winnipeg exists. I'm pretty sure like I'm not afraid of California.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Yeah. Like we've got Winnipeg. So nice try.
Have you been through downtown Edmonton lately? Because
I live
survived
downtown
that. I'm
Edmonton.
not afraid of California.
I live downtown Edmonton.
Oh.
Yeah, I live in the north side of Edmonton. I live like 10 minutes from downtown, man. It's fucking horrible. It's sad. It's
a crazy place right now.
Did you know that they've started lacing things with the fentanyl, but like they've started lacing things with shit that's like naloxone resistant?
Really?
Yeah, you can naloxone them or whatever it's called, the fucking whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
I
thought the Naxalone stuff was like the cure all. Like it may not save you, but like if there's anything that will, it will be that.
Yeah, but no, this stuff is now naloxone resistant. So
that's terrifying.
Yeah. I heard something on another podcast they were talking about it. I believe it was the Second Act podcast with Gord, and he was talking about, he's like, you know, when other users, they're sitting around watching someone overdose and that person dies, they're checking their pockets for that stuff. They want it, and it doesn't run through their mind like, oh, that person died, I shouldn't do it. It's like, wow, that must have been really good stuff, I want it.
Yeah.
And they start checking them for it, right? Because that's the mind of an addict, right? The mind of a user,
yeah.
Right? The disease. And so, you know, it's not like, oh my God, he just died, I need to stay away. It's like, no, he just died. That stuff must have been that good. Wow.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's crazy the just the mind of an addict, and not only that, but like just the inhumanity behind it and what dealers will do to make $1. Like you're literally preying on the weakest of the weak, and you're completely okay with it.
When you look at downtown Edmonton and the tent cities and the addicts, we've had this conversation on the podcast already. We're all one decision away from being there. We're all like one layoff. You can't pay. One
layoff away, one paycheck away. Like, you know, it's the smallest things that can change it. And you talk to like a lot of people, and you know, how did you get here? And you know, I was laid off for 2 weeks. Well, shit, that could happen to literally any of us.
Yeah, that's scary, man. That is scary. Yep, the tent cities and shit downtown Edmonton right now, and like they're real close to my house. Like I had to move my garbage can into my backyard because they were burning garbage cans to stay warm.
That's crazy.
And yeah, man, and they were in my back alleyway. They were living in between garages and shit. And I got kids, man, and like I'm not trying to make my kids fear them.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be like, hey, like we need to respect these people, but also just, you know, watch yourself, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I do the same thing with my son too. Like we drive through town and he sees, you know, something, and I'm just like, you know, people are put into unfortunate situations sometimes, and this is how that they have to survive, unfortunately. And to him, like as a child, it's hard for me to think, you know, what's going on in his head when he sees things like that, because you know, you're young and you're innocent, and you see these people that are just living in turmoil and hardship all the time, and like it's hard for a child to comprehend why. Right? Like it's heartbreaking.
It's sad, man. It's sad. And shout out to the homeless people I saw giving each other flu shots underneath the bridge the other day. Stay winning.
Pretty sure those weren't flu shots.
Shit.
I mean, they're going to be resistant to something for a little while, but that ain't no flu shot.
Oh, shit. Oh, fuck, man. No, it's sad. It's sad. But hey, you know what? Like, our mayor in Edmonton is just absent.
Yeah.
Like, doing absolutely dick all about it, you know? What can he do about it? You know, first of all, what can he do about it? But
Yeah.
if there's anything he can do about it, where is he?
Yeah. I think that's in a lot of cities are like that. You don't see the mayor saying much about it. It's one of those things that's like if you don't speak about it, it doesn't actually happen. Even though everyone sees it around you, if you don't speak about it, it's not happening. And
if we stop testing for COVID, the numbers will dip.
Yeah, exactly. No one's homeless if you don't look at it, right? You don't talk about it, everyone has a house.
Hey, man, when the Oilers games go on, they move the tent cities out for Oiler games. Like, they kick them out. And then after the game, you know, Connor McDavid and, let's say, Austin Matthews come walking through downtown to get to the game. They don't see that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, oh, you know, we're a bunch of millionaires. We're going to play hockey. And, oh, what a nice area. They go inside. They play their game. They come out. They leave. The homeless encampments move back in.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning, it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad, dude. It's sad. I feel really bad for a lot of these people. I gave one a bottle of water not long ago.
It's not just Edmonton, though. Like, it's everywhere right now. Like, Calgary's the same way. Vancouver. I mean, hell, even Grand Prairie. Like, it's literally, it's touching every community. Yeah. And people want to talk about it, but no one actually wants to do anything about it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So.
100%. Buddy, this has been a lot of fun.
You got to get to sleep because you got to go to work tomorrow.
Yes, sir. And you got to get to sleep because you got your boy getting up nice and early.
I got to make bacon and eggers in the morning.
Bacon and eggers, buddy. Here we go. I'm on my way. 45 minutes away. I'm going to stop by.
Sounds good, man. Anytime. You're more than welcome. Literally anytime. Come through. Give me a phone call. I'll meet you wherever you are.
Usually at the Paradise when I come to GP.
Isn't that like wait, I'm not good at school, but I believe there's an English term for that. Is it oxymoron? Paradise and Grand Prairie in the same word?
The Paradise Inn. It's no paradise, but it's definitely an inn.
All right, brother.
All right, man. This has been fun, and thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for this.
No worries.
This has
been great. Again one of these days.
Absolutely, probably in another 8 months or so.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. Hey.
Talk to you later.
You stay frosty.
You stay frosty. It's cold outside, I heard.
It's nice.
Talk to you later. This song's growing on me, by the way.
I'll send it to you.
I appreciate it.
Go to bed.
Yeah.